Greetings, everybody. Welcome to this week's live feed and Healing Courageously with the Courageous Healers Foundation. My screen is black. My daughter's here. She says that I'm live, so I just can't see myself, but evidently something's wrong with Facebook. It seems to be an issue with this new platform, so every week there's some kind of problem. So I'm assuming everybody can see me, so I'm just going to go ahead and go with the live feed today. It's important. So first and foremost, I hope that you're all safe today. I know there's a lot of unrest in California, well, across the country especially, but in Southern California, and it's gonna supposed to be hitting us here in the Coachella Valley tonight. Is what everybody's saying. They're boarding up El Paseo, and a friend of mine owns a gym, and he asked me to come over and help him protect his gym tonight if need be, and I definitely will be there for him. So the sad state of affairs in America. We're all saddened and disappointed in what happened to Mr. Floyd. Wish it should have never happened, but there's bad cops out there. Thanks, sis. There's bad cops out there, just like there's good cops out there, and I'm not justifying it whatsoever. It should have never ever happened. But I just want to say this before I get into my blog: is that what's happening out there right now is far worse than what that officer did to that Mr. Floyd. I mean, we're destroying a country over a person being unduly murdered. And I understand the anger and the angst. I absolutely do understand it. I also agree with very friendly protests. We have a right to protest. That's not what this is all about all of a sudden. I went from protests to violent riots, destroying people's private property. Mom and pop shops that have worked all their life and sunk their life savings into building a business, just to make a living for their family and have a little bit better life. And it's all taken away within a minute or two because of a bunch of careless, ruthless people that think that violence and mayhem is the answer to all these problems. The reality is that the country, we said we need to take God out of schools. We need to take God out of government. When our country was founded under God, one nation under God. We are one people. We just happen to have different color skins. And because we have different color skins, some people decide that they're entitled to different things on both sides. On both sides. The elite feel they're entitled to their wealth and nobody else can have it. On the poverty-stricken side, they feel they're entitled to what the wealth has and they don't have to work for it. That's just God's honest truth. We just need to pray for peace. We need to bring God back into the schools, back into our government. What you're seeing right now is nothing less than pure evil. You wanted it, here it is. Right? You wanted it, here it is. You let the devil in, his playground is now blown wide open. It exploded. Kind of how it exploded was that we got locked down for 3 months, and then we have a lot of angst and anxiety for those first 3 months of being locked down and what's going to happen to us. Nobody really knows the truth. Is it unnecessary? And then you have the undue murder of an innocent man at this point. So all it was the fuel. It was the fuel that was needed for everybody just to explode. I don't know what they're proving. And it's a sad state of affairs. It's a sad state of affairs. Here in Coachella Valley, El Paseo is a very peaceful street. Right? And right now with the coronavirus, if indeed, we know there's a coronavirus, but with the pandemic was as bad as it was, a lot of small businesses are trying to survive. And now this hits. So I would just ask that we as a people come together under God, one nation under God, indivisible. And get back to that. We all bleed red. We all want the same things. We want fairness, we want peace, we want happiness. But what's happening out there right now ain't bringing it. It's going to make things worse. Absolutely going to make things worse. The police are getting fed up with it. They're starting to respond in a manner that, what else would you expect them to do? I saw a video where a police officer actually got hit by an SUV. I mean, and the point is that we can't even have civil debates about what's going on without one side just unleashing ruthless comments on the people that are just trying to figure this out. So just pray. I know our church, my pastors, they're going to be praying tonight. There'll probably be hundreds and hundreds of people praying tonight over our state. But something needs to change. 63 years old, and I didn't grow up in America and work as hard as I worked all my life for my life to end this in my life. I've got 3 children. I got 5 grandchildren. I don't want them. I don't want to leave them with this mess that this world's in right now. But the reality is, we're doing it to ourselves. We're laying down and we're letting government walk all over us. We have to remember that the government, we pay their salary. The government works for us. They don't work for us. And they work for us and we don't work for them. And that has been lost along the way because too many people just lay down and don't want to fight it. It's time that we rise up and fight for our rights in a civil and quiet way, not with these crazy riots. All right, so that's enough on that with me. I can't help it. We need to get this settled back down. We need to bring everybody together, one nation under God. All right, so the last 2 chapters of my book, one is forgiveness and one is the authentic self, finding your authentic self. And those, they're kind of put that way for a reason. The whole book leads up to forgiveness. We talk about a lot of different things, about how we were hurt, how we were harmed, how we harmed other people. We got in touch with our inner self. We talk about forgiveness, what forgiveness is, what it's not, the process of forgiveness. And then the last chapter is to find out who are we really, as who am I as Randy, who is my wife as Kathy. And part of the situation, the issue with that is, and Kathy was she says it so perfectly, was that, she was afraid of who she was going to become. She didn't know what that looked like, and that's a legitimate fear. Who are we going to become when we get rid of all the masks and peel away the onion and work on all of our hurts, habits, and hang-ups, and then let God enter back into our life? We're going to become somebody different than we were. And I can tell you that factually because it happened to me, and it's scary at a point in time. It really is scary, and we have to look at it because that's part of the reason what's going on in this world right now. Nobody really knows who they are. Where's absentee fathers? They're everywhere. Men, boys, they don't have. Who's teaching these boys how to be contributing members of society? Who's teaching these boys to be responsible? Nobody. So they turn to the streets and they get a family on the street. And all they do is they're in survival mode. So start this chapter with a quote by Brene Brown. And it's this: owning our story can be hard, but not nearly as difficult as spending our lives running from it. not nearly as difficult as spending our lives running from it. Embracing our vulnerabilities is risky, but not nearly as dangerous as giving up on love and belonging and joy. The experiences that make us the most vulnerable, only we are brave and only we are brave enough to explore the darkness or the darkness. Only when we are brave enough to explore the darkness will we discover the infinite power of our light. Owning our story can be hard, and yes, it can be hard. I had to own my story, everything about it. I was running from it because I didn't know how to own it. I was running from it with drugs and alcohol, trying to be trying to be successful and be everything that I thought the world wanted me to be, but nothing that Randy wanted me to be. It was hard. I told a friend one time. She asked how the business was when I first started it out here in 1990, and I said, "Well, it's okay, but it's not me. This isn't me. I'm just doing it because it's work." And I didn't know how profound that was at the time. Embracing our vulnerabilities is risky, but not nearly as dangerous as giving up on love and belonging and joy. You know, it's funny how we will give up those things, love, belonging, and joy, all in the name of money. All in the name of money and all in the name of proving ourselves to people that don't really mean a whole lot. When we're going up a corporate ladder, we just think that we're the cat's meow and we're not expendable. And the reality is we are that. There's always somebody climbing the ladder right behind us. And at any time that a corporate board decides that the guy behind him has got a lot more enthusiasm, a lot better ideas, get rid of him at the top. Then what happens? More, Lupita. The experiences, which is love and belonging and joy, that make us the most vulnerable. Vulnerability is really important. I always say it takes only a weak man hides his weaknesses. Only a weak man will hide his weaknesses. And it takes a truly strong and courageous man to reveal and talk about his weaknesses, but in the right form. Only when we are brave enough to explore the darkness will we discover the infinite power of our light. Light will overcome the darkness. The light is much stronger. In the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous, I like to say, I'm paraphrasing and I might choke this one up, but it says, inside every man, woman, and child is a knowing of a God. That God is light. He's in the center of us. And we allow the darkness to enter, snuffing out the light. So it's only when we're brave enough to explore that darkness, to talk about our hurts, habits, and hang-ups, to talk about why we feel the way we feel, to talk about the mistakes we've made in life. Because whatever's happened to us in life, it doesn't define us. It's just some stuff that happens to us. And we have choices. And at first, we only have one choice because it's all we know, and that's just to do whatever we have to do to survive. How do I fit in? But then as we find out that doesn't work, and we decide, well, it's time, good morning, Sylvia, it's time to make some changes. Then it gets hard. Then we have to look at ourselves. And that's where a lot of people get lost in recovery. When it's time to really sit down, put the pencil to the paper, put your heart and your mind together, sit down with a mentor or a coach, and you start getting to the heart of things. We have to start, because inside that onion, and the heart of the onion is us. But over the years, we've had so many layers of that onion cover up the true us that it takes work to keep peeling that onion back. And the other thing with all this is that we do get a lot of payoff in our society for being inauthentic. Think about that. I mean, how many people can switch hats at a drop of a dime? Right? How many people? I hunted with a gentleman. He was a friend for years, and I saw this behavior in him. I don't want to say his name, but when he was with me or me and my son, he was this one guy. He was like a nice, accommodating. He was one person. But the minute a group of these other guys showed up, which is we're all part of one group at the time, like that, he switched, and my son and I were like kind of left out in left field, and he was over here with these guys. He could switch it to fit whatever he needed to fit into to be accepted by whoever he thought he wanted to be accepted by. How many of us can do that? How many of us do that? We have different roles in our life, not hats. We have one hat, a human being. And our personality should be the same. It's like they say in the program, practice the principles in all of your affairs. So whatever you're doing, you should be even across the board. The only adjustment is, what are you doing over on this page? What is your role on this page? So you have to adjust, but your overall personality, your overall attitude needs to be the same straight across the board in life. I can see through people in a second, in an absolute second. Hey, Jacqueline. We grow up learning how to pretend to be what we thought other people wanted us to be. And later on in this series, towards the end, it might be next week or the third week, there's a really great parable about a girl that does cartwheels. And if it's not in this, I'll look it up and I'll make sure, because it fits perfect for this. But we grew up learning how to pretend to be what we thought other people wanted us to be. And again, as we get deeper into this chapter, I'm going to talk about some stuff Don Miguel Ruiz in his book, The Four Agreements, talks about in the domestication of self. It's powerful. We really have to have an open mind when we enter into this stuff. We're taught that we receive love and approval from others based on how well we conform to what they want from us. So we're loved and approved by certain people based on how well we conform to their standards. Well, what about our own standards? I mean, when I started using drugs and alcohol, it's because I was getting no love or approval or acceptance from my mother and my stepfather. Right? So what did I turn to? Drugs and alcohol, because those people accepted me for who I was. They didn't judge me. Right? So, do you even know who you are? How many times have you given up your happiness in life to make other people happy? Or let me rephrase that. How many times have you said yes when you meant no? You're lying. You're lying to yourself. The price tag, I found that the price tag for that kind of approval was just way, way too high. I mean, it ended in the end because what I was doing as a business owner, I was following business owners, successful business owners. Were they ethical, moral? No, not at all. But I was doing what they were doing, so I would fit in with them and get the approval that I needed. Because I never got approval anywhere as a child. So I was doing all my life, what can I do to get approval of people? So I was following in their footsteps to the point exactly to where I had an affair, because that's just what successful people do. It's no big deal. And believe me, it's a big deal. To the men out there, to the women, I'm going to speak to the men. Don't do it. I don't care what's going on between you and your wife. If you're thinking about an affair, then you need to talk to somebody. A man that's been in those shoes, i.e. myself, We'll figure it out because it's nothing. Nine out of 10 times, the problem is not your wife. It's something deep within you. And that's a fact. See, I gave up my own sense of self-worth when I changed who we are in order to get someone else's approval. It's funny because oftentimes when we make that change to get someone else's approval, then all of a sudden we're being rejected by the people that we had approval from prior to. They're looking at you. I can remember a good friend who's been in my life since we moved to Denver, since 1990. We coached together. Our kids played soccer. They played sports together. To this day, we still talk. We still do things with them whenever possible. They live out of state, so it's pretty hard. But I remember I called him up, or no, he called me up. I was sitting in my office one day. He goes, "How's it going, Randy?" I go, "Oh, it's going right." I go, "I left Kathy." Here's what he said. No lie. He says, "You did what?" I says, "I left Kathy." He goes, "Get your ass back and home with her," and hung up on me. Just like that. He didn't turn his back on me, but he had nothing else to say to me but "Get your ass back home." Excuse the language. Well, ass is in the Bible. It's a donkey. So we've got to be, hey Keith, good morning. So remember, if we're chasing somebody else's approval, we're likely to lose the people in our life's approval. Right? You know, a lot of times too, I've heard this. Yeah, you know what, Randy? That's not me. I'm not that guy. I'm not fake like that. Yeah, okay. I'm working with a guy like that right now because I didn't think I was that guy either. I thought I was all that and more. I wasn't that guy. Yeah, I had my issues, but again, I was broken. I didn't know who I was. As I dwelled deeper and deeper, this is what I encourage people to do. As we dwell deeper and deeper into personal growth, because remember that in recovery, this isn't an easy road by any means. I was told by my good friend and his wife, actually they told my wife, it's going to be the hardest thing that Randy has ever done in his life, but the best thing. And it is hard because we step out of what we're so comfortable in. But let me rephrase that. We stepped out of this uncomfortableness that we've been living in for so long, but yet we're so comfortable in it. And when we stepped out of that, we step into a new uncomfortableness that we are completely unfamiliar with. And you talk about being hard. We know how to deal with the other uncomfortableness because we've been living in it all of our life. We know how to navigate through it. We know how to manipulate people. But now we're in a new world where we can't manipulate. We can't do nothing. And as we dive deeper into it, I myself and we in general, everybody, whoever takes this journey, that's when we realize how inauthentic we were most of the time. And when I started being more authentic, I became happier. I was as authentic as I could be with my children and my wife at home for a long period of time. I love my children and I love Kathy. But then there was that couple of years, a period of time where everything went south. And I've seen this happen with a lot of the people that I mentor and Kathy mentors and we coach. I've seen it happen over and over again. Is it to say that we don't have problems in life? No. We're human beings. We have problems. Let's not say problems. Let's say we have issues. And those issues is what we want to learn from. That's how we learn. Life isn't easy. It's hard. It's hard at best, to be honest with you. When we get those easy moments, we want to saturate ourselves. We just want to bask in it even if it's just for a day. Just hold on to it, because those are the moments that will carry us through the next hard time we have. We got to remember that the degree of happiness that we have in our life is linked directly to how authentic we can be. And I'll say this boldly: if you're unhappy, you're not being true to yourself. Nobody. You need to understand this. We hear it all the time, and I had to learn it myself. My wife had to learn it. Nobody can make you do anything. You're the one that makes the choice. Yeah, people put us in precarious positions. People say stuff to us that hurt us, do stuff that hurt us. But we're the one that ultimately makes the choice to take whatever action we're going to take, good, bad, or indifferent. So are you being true to yourself in those moments? I know a lot of times I went against everything I knew was right. I knew it, I could feel it in the fiber of my being. But it didn't matter because I was trying to win acceptance. I was trying to find happiness. Being inauthentic includes any behaviors that cause you to hold up an ego mask. If you can't walk into a corporate party without putting on a mask and acting as though you're something you're not, you're being inauthentic. Just be yourself. I'll have a few cocktails, then I can really loosen up. Well, is that you? Maybe you're just an introvert to some degree. It's like the therapist says, why do we have to be good or bad? Why can't we just be whoever we are? And don't get me wrong. We learn a lot of stuff in life, and a lot of things that we've learned is not being unauthentic. We're intelligent. But I use the word motive a lot. What's the motive behind your actions? You can still have the conversations and be authentic. You don't have to be inauthentic. Take the mask off. Let people see who you really are. It's really hard to understand the difference between being authentic and inauthentic. There's no doubt about that. It's really hard. And until I did my work and continue to do my work, I had a really hard time seeing it. If you guys are like most people, we're mostly authentic most of the time. I mean, let's not argue that point. We're mostly authentic most of the time. There's no doubt about that. But then there's those times when we're not. And those are the times that really can get us in trouble. The inauthentic part, it comes from exaggerating certain aspects of your personality and minimizing others. You know, there's always that one or two people. There's always those one or two people at a gathering, and their voice is about 10 decibels above everybody else. I guarantee you, if you sat down with them for 1, 2, 3 sessions, it's because they were never heard as children. And so now they're going to make sure that they're heard by everybody. It's not their fault. They don't know. You know, I used to think that I was brutally honest, and what you see is what you get kind of guy. But I used to, the reality is I was kidding myself. Because I wasn't. I was straight shooting all right, but only if it benefited me. What you see is what you get kind of guy. Yeah, that's kind of true. I was a jerk, and what you saw was a jerk. That's who I was. I was kidding myself about how authentic I was. And the reality is, I want you to hear this part, because I said I was being brutally honest, but the reality is I wasn't being brutally honest. You know why? Because I said yes to people when I wanted to say no. No, that's not brutally honest. I put myself last and everyone else first so that they would like me. That's not being brutally honest. I pasted on a happy face when I was sad, insecure, or vulnerable. That's not being honest. Because society says that, get over it. You can't be sad. You can't be insecure. Don't be vulnerable. Just get over it. Move on. What's your problem? Go have another drink. The inauthenticity in my life was costing me my health, happiness, and self-respect. No matter how hard I tried, I was wrong if I did, and I was wrong if I didn't. Didn't matter. Didn't matter. Here's the deal in life. We're not going to make everybody happy. You know, we might have one person we're talking to and say, you know what, Randy, I agree with you 100%. That was a point on. And another person standing in the same conversation, hearing the same conversation, might say, you know, you're a jerk, Randy. I don't know where you come up with that kind of information. How can you say that about people? What do you know? What I know is what I know. And does it apply to everybody? No. And forgive me if I sound like I'm making this sound like it applies to everybody, because everybody's different, and I know that. I speak in general terms a lot, and I'm working on that. But the reality is it does affect a lot of people. A lot of the trouble for men, in particular, and especially for male survivors of sexual abuse, comes from feeling that they have to measure up to gender norms. We have to. We were sexually abused. We feel less than. We feel less than a man. We should have been able to protect ourselves. So we're always trying to measure up to the gender norms. Well, what are gender norms? A man's a man. Just go to the Bible and it'll tell us what we're supposed to do, not what society tells us we're supposed to do. But a man's supposed to be there for his family. We're supposed to protect our families, our friends, right? Yeah, we're supposed to make livings for our families, support our families, and that's what's happening right now because of this coronavirus. I'll touch on this. Is that what is a man? So if a man is defined by how much money he makes for his family, and the kind of house he lives in, the kind of job he has, and all of a sudden that's all taken from him because of this coronavirus deal that's happening right now, then what's he left with? How can I speak on this? Because I know. Because in 2011, when I made the decision that we've got to shut the doors or we're going to lose everything, and we were liquid at the point, I spent a year trying to figure out who Randy was, and I thought I knew who I was. So society's got this whole thing wrong. Yeah, as men, we're here to support our family and to supply their needs. I'm not arguing that point. That's the truth. But your family comes first. Make sure they have what they need. Spend time with your family. What do you think's happening right now with all the riots? I said it earlier today. Absentee fathers. These kids don't know who they are. They're living up to what society tells them they should be. The wrong part of society. See, because of that, I can admit to being scared, vulnerable, or sad. Because that wasn't manly. I mean, how many men out there feel that same way? I'm telling you, I've already dealt with a lot of them, hundreds of them. And I can tell you right now what's going on with more suicides or more suicide attempts in the first 4 months than we have in a whole year. And with more suicide deaths than COVID deaths already this year, I can tell you what's going on. They don't know who they are. Because they lost what society told them they should be as a man. I know that's a bold statement, man, but we've got to help these people. You got to help yourself. See, I built this facade of being manly since my abuse started when I was 12 years old. I can remember trying to be a tough guy in high school. I'm just like, what am I doing? You know, that's not who I am. Inauthenticity can be obvious or it can be subtle. By either way, it costs us our own self-worth and happiness. Some survivors feel they need to overcompensate for their abuse by being overly macho. Just, that's a big statement right there. Look at me now. They get all pumped up. They're in the gym a lot. Hey, I'm all for being in the gym. Don't get me wrong. But these are the guys that are all in the gym. They're all jacked up on steroids. They ain't nobody gonna mess with me. They ain't no man ever gonna hurt me again. Because look how big I am. In my own case, my hunting trips, my four-wheel drive truck, were partially authentic because I love to hunt. I love my trucks. All right? But they were also part of my facade. And I can remember I used to have the Ford trucks. I still have Ford trucks. I love them, right? But I had the Ford trucks back then had 38-inch tires, 6-inch lives. They were the big trucks. And I remember one day, I was at the Ford dealer and went down there and I said, this isn't who I am. I don't want to be known because everybody knew me by my trucks, in the valley. Just give me a truck. I want a four-wheel drive truck. I need the four-wheel drive truck because of the hunting and the stuff that I do. But I got rid of the macho truck, so to speak. Don't get me wrong. If I had the money, I'd have one today. But the whole purpose, the whole motive would be different. It's just because I love my trucks. Okay? So I was consciously building up an image of Randy the man's man, based on what I thought my friends, clients, and employees thought was masculine. That's all I had to go by, was what my friends and clients and everybody else had to say. Hey, Travis, I want you to notice how convoluted this gets. I was more invested in what I thought other people thought about me than I was finding out what I thought about myself. Why? Because nobody told me growing up who I was. Nobody helped me through my hard times growing up. I'm not the only one. There's thousands of men that got this story. And we learn from society because our fathers are absent. Now, my father died when I was 12, and he was a phenomenal father up until that point. He taught me a lot about a lot of different things. It was only after that when my stepfather came into play. What happens is that while being inauthentic, the problem with that is that we're just spending so much time crafting a new mask. Now what mask? Now, it's like Eckhart Tolle says, you work hard all your life. You work. You got this. You want a brand new BMW 735i. You're working for it. You get it. Bam! You go to the dealer. You drive it home. You drive it around town that night. You wake up in the morning. You walk out to the driveway. You see the brand new BMW 735i sitting there. You look at it and you go, now what? What's next? I know I've done it countless times. I've always wanted to get. If I found out my hunting friends were getting, they got a certain bow, the one that just came out, then I waited to get the next better bow. Right? That's just what I had to do. Always crafting a mask to look better than everybody else, because you certainly didn't want to see behind it. Labor over them, adding things that you think will make people like you and hiding things that you think will make people dislike you. Right? So there's a lot of self-sabotaging that goes on with those masks too. Like I say, you put on a new mask because you're chasing this group of friends over here that you want them to approve of you. And this group of friends back here that you've had for a while are looking at you go, what about us? We're not good enough for you now, so you got to move over here. That's ridiculous. Utterly ridiculous. We're all equal. We all have different levels of income. All right? But we're all human beings. It's been a lifetime working on the mask. Lifetime. You put them on so many times that you can come to feel that they're really you. I just thought it's who I was, man. After all, what happened to me would happen to you. You'd be doing the same way. Hey, Angie. But deep down, you know that the facades that you're presenting to the outside world aren't who you really are. And Janet Woditz says that one of the classic signs of adult children of alcoholics is that they lie when it is just as easy to tell the truth. I want you to think about that. How many times have you lied out of fear of telling the truth at the moment because of the reaction you might get from the person you were speaking to? So you know what? It's like, man, I'm fearful. I'm just going to make up a lie. And I think I've told the story before. I almost did it with my wife one time. It was probably a year or two into my sobriety. I was having coffee with some friends, and we all had Harleys, and we wanted to go up to Julian the next day. And they were talking about it. I said, yeah, man, I'm going to go. I want to go. I want to go. And so as I walked to my truck, I go, oh, man. I told Kathy I would take her out to lunch tomorrow. And so I was scheming in my head. Well, I'll just call her up and tell her something else came and I can't make it to lunch. And I go, what are you, crazy? She's going to find out you rode up there with your friends. Why don't you just tell her the truth? You see, when I told her the truth, I called her up and said, Kathy, I know I told you I'd take you out to lunch tomorrow. Can we change that to the next day? Because these guys, we want to ride up to Julian tomorrow. It's the only way they can do it this week. And she said, sure, go ahead and go, Randy. Have fun. And I took her out to lunch the next day. I thought to myself, could you imagine if I would have lied to her and she would have found out? I mean, I'm trying to repair a relationship that I was lying to for years. And the outcome of that lie would have been devastating when she found out about it. So just tell the truth rather than lie at the first place. A couple of things happen. One, you start lying, you can't remember the lie you told about the lie, so you keep on lying over the lie that you told 4 times ago. And you're eventually going to get caught. And usually that lie gets caught in the most inopportune time of your life. Very embarrassing. So just tell the truth. Whether you want to or not, just tell the truth and accept the consequences as they might be. So we've been so invested in protecting ourselves by anticipating the moods and needs of others that we probably don't even know when we aren't being real. It's just who I am. It becomes ingrained. Your behavior, it's just natural because you've been invested in it for probably since you were a young boy or girl or teenager. I know that's what it was for me and for a lot of abuse survivors. I know, when I was invested in my mask, right, I would make fun of men who seemed less masculine than me. And that's not who I am. I don't like making fun of people. I don't like hurting people. I have a hard time just being sarcastic with people. And I am sarcastic with certain people. And they're just, lately, God's really been convicting me about that. It's just don't be sarcastic. The main issue here was I was afraid that if I was kind to them, my friends would think less of me. I know it sounds silly, it sounds goofy, but it's hard for me to be this vulnerable with you right now, even. But recovery is about being radically honest. It's important for survivors to see authenticity in another survivor. And what I eventually discovered is that people didn't like me because I was macho and competitive and successful. They liked me despite those qualities. I was told by one person, by a group of people, excuse me, Randy, we don't know you, the businessman. We don't know you out there. We know you here. We know the authentic Randy, and that's who we like. I couldn't see it. But all those masks were pretty obnoxious. We admit her. So over time, in good relationships, i.e. with Kathy and myself or your spouse, we will eventually let other people in and show them who we really are, a little bit at a time, because it's a trust issue, right? The first one is that being authentic and telling the truth rather than lying. How are they going to react if I tell the truth? That's going to play a big part on how the behavior continues as you go down the road. When we can admit our fears and own up to what we think are our flaws with our partner, spouse, or a mentor or coach. After they see us at our best and our worst, and Kathy saw me at my best and my worst, and they still love us, that's when we start to trust that love, because we realize that they see more of who we really are, and they still love us. See, Kathy knew who Randy was. Kathy married this wonderful guy, Randy. And then things caught up over the course of the years, and that's what Kathy kept on holding on to. This isn't Randy that's acting this way. This isn't the Randy I married. This is not Randy. Something's wrong, and I know he was abused. So it's when I said, okay, enough is enough. And when I started the journey in September after the affair, so it would be January of 2005, and I started reaching out for help, and Kathy started reaching out for help. She hung on because she knew who I really was. She saw the loving, kind, and real Randy. I wasn't being faked then. That was who I was. But the problem is that some survivors are too afraid to drop their mask and let anyone else in. It's because there's a lot of shame. Some of them can go through life never truly feeling love for who they are because they never let anyone see their true self. And they know that other people they love, they know that the other people say they love the person they're pretending to be, but at the same time, they know the others don't really know the person behind the mask. And I'm telling you right now, people will lie to your face and say they like you and love you. And then you find out later that all they're doing is talking smack behind your back, or you even find it out by yourself when you finally get sober and you start straighting out your life and go, yeah, you were a pretty big jerk. Then you find out the real them. People don't know how to tell the truth. They know how to lie. They know how to lie and keep secrets because it starts at a very young age. Very few people will tell you the truth the way it is. And it was only when I was able to open up and start telling the truth that other people were able to tell me the truth about myself because I was ready to hear it. And then they wonder why they are depressed, isolated, have trust issues, and feel alone. Because they live in an isolated world. Because they're so afraid of what society will say. Being authentic is very, very tough. It's easier in the short run to conform to society. We see celebrities and characters in films, think about this, on TV, and they're always telling us who we are supposed to be. Look at all the women and young girls. I mean, young girls, not even in their teens, are having breast implants and plastic surgery, and moms and dads are okay with it. I mean, where's that coming from? It's not okay. Some of these girls, I mean, my wife didn't have that. My daughter didn't have that. They grew up, they're beautiful women. My daughter-in-law didn't have it. They're beautiful women. They don't need all that. Let life take its course. Let them develop into the women that they're supposed to be and the men that they're supposed to be. Give them that chance. You need to be there for them. You need to guide them. But then again, I understand because who guided you? And most of the time when I ask that question, nobody. Nobody. You know, and we got to remember that in America, given our diversity and commitment to individuality, there is a wider range of social archetypes than, say, like in Sweden, where the population and the culture are more homogenous. But even here in America, there are a limited number of ways that we define ourselves because there's so much influence in the social media and on TV, and who society feels we should be, man or woman. Okay, so next week, this is a big chapter. obviously running over what I usually like to go, but it's important. So next week we're going to continue in chapter 13, finding your authentic self. We're going to talk about defining ourselves. As a matter of fact, it was just what I ended it on. Okay, we're going to end it. We're going to pick up on defining ourselves. There's a lot of good in this chapter. Visit my life coaching page, changeyourlifestorynow.com, changeyourlifestorynow.com. If you need life coaching, look, everybody's got hurts, habits, and hangups. What are you waiting for? You don't have to go through life by yourself hurting. We can help you. It's not an easy journey, but my wife and I, we work with marriages, pre-marriage. We work with people that are married. I'm SIMBA certified. It's a great assessment test for newlyweds coming up that are going to be married, or even people that have been married for a long time, because it really shows you how you're aligned in certain things with life. It's like 99.9% accurate. So we do marriage counseling. I work naturally with the addictions, abuse, inner healing, and spiritual. It all falls under. It's all surrounded by abuse. So I deal with all that. So if you just visit the changeyourlifestorynow.com page, you can look at the 3 different packages I have there. Just fill out the contact form, call me, and we can sit down and talk about a package that might work for you. Okay, but I'd love to help you. My wife and I would love to help your relationships or marriage become what you anticipate them to be and what God would really like them to be. My book, Healing the Wounded Child Within, you can get it on Amazon. It's available in paperback, Kindle, and audiobook. You can also get my devotional, the 30-day devotional, The Wholeness, and my workbook, 7-day challenge, which is kind of a workbook that goes with my book, Healing the Wounded Child Within. They're all available on Amazon. Please visit our foundation website, www.courageoushealers.org. Kind of see what's going on. We're working real hard on keeping this going, keeping these live feeds going, keeping the blogs going, everything that we're doing going. But we need your help. We can't do it without finances. So if you want to go to that, when you go to that page, just click on a donate button. You can do one-time donation, or you can do set up a monthly donation to the foundation. It's a 100% write-off for you. All the money, 100% of the money stays in the foundation. It goes towards the projects that we do. Whether it's $5 a month or $5,000 a month or anything in between, or one time, anything in between, we greatly, greatly appreciate it. And I have a hard time asking for money, but we really need your help in keeping this foundation going, because there's so many men out there that are desperate for help. I had a call the other day about a young boy, and it's like, I'll refer you to where I got to refer you to. Well, do they take, is there any kind of scholarship, blah, 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 blah. I go, I believe there probably is, but I can't answer that question. Well, that's what the foundation is here for. It's here to, hopefully, my goal is the foundation will be able to help the men and their families, and women as needed as well. But the services won't be free, but we want to also have that aspect of it to where you can afford the services. We can do a certain amount of pro bono work for you. Or, as with this child yesterday, we can provide the scholarship for him to go to a treatment facility to get the help that he needs if the parent doesn't have it. That's where our heart's at. We just want to see people get the help that they need, that they deserve. This is a stigma in the United States. This is a stigma throughout the world. It is a true pandemic. 1 in 3 girls, 1 in 4 boys will be sexually abused before the age of 18. You want to know what's wrong with the world? That's a big part of it. It's not only sexual abuse, it's physical abuse, emotional abuse, and spiritual abuse. It's all combined. If you donate $60 or more, I'll send you a signed copy of my book, Healing the Wounded Child Within, and a copy of my 30-day devotional to wholeness, okay? Hey, you can join me every Friday morning from 9 to 12 on 100.1 FN Remnant Radio. It's a Christian radio station. But every Friday morning from 9 to 12 on 100.1 FM Remnant Radio here in Coachella Valley. We have our workshops coming up. The workshop series is Unmasking Yourself. We have already done the communication workshop, or I should say I'm investigating how to get that on some videos so that we can get it out to you so you can purchase it and watch it again or for the first time. So we have the next one is on June 13th. It's called The Journey to You, but right now that's been postponed until probably the end of July, the first part of August. We want to get through this Corona stuff. We can have it here at the house. I don't have a problem with that, but we're respectful to all the other people. So it's been postponed, not canceled, and we'll let you know more as that comes. At the end of July, the first part of June, it's called Journey to You. That's really going to get into where you came from, why you do the things you do the way you do. It's going to get into a lot of the generational curses and behaviors, okay, and how you can spot them and how you can change them. And then on September 12th, we're going to do Secrets and Silence. And then on September 5th, we're going to do Forgiveness. If you go to the website, courageoushealers.org, click on the workshop link at the top of the page. It'll take you to this page. It'll explain all the workshops to you. If you so desire, you can register today. Just click on the Register Now button. It'll take you right to the page. It's a one-stop shop for registration. There is an early bird price on there. In the event that you do register, and I hope that you do, please register. This is a very important workshop. And the workshop, for some reason, is canceled permanently, your money will be refunded, okay? 100% refunded. I'm not going to hold anything back from that. So just know that. But our goal is to have the next workshop in the end of July. I just want to make sure you all know that. As a matter of fact, I'm going to put the link to the workshop page right here on the comments. Thanks for your time today, guys. I know it went a little longer than usual, but again, this is a really important subject, and I want to make sure we spend time on it and people really understand it. So remember, if nobody tells you that they love you today, Randy does. More importantly, God does. Everybody be blessed. Hey, be really careful out there this week. Be safe out here tonight. Stay home tonight, especially in the Coachella Valley. We don't know what's going to happen. Supposedly it's going to come out here. So just be with your family. Keep your family safe. And just everybody, let's just pray for our country. Pray for our city, our cities, and pray for our state. That this gets over really, really quick. All right. I love you all. Be blessed. Have a good week. Bye-bye.